Hello and welcome everybody to your final match of the day, and boy do we have a phenomenal show for you. Judas Priestley here, and today we'll be bringing you the Athenian Sages with my good friend Spooky Mars coming through. Now Spooky, it's very convenient that you are here because the Sages have a frightening task ahead of them, as they are going to have to be contending with the absolute behemoths of the NASCC, the Valhalla Valkyries.
Absolutely, Jesus. And Valkyries have been on a tear recently. They are undefeated going into this set. Granted, we're only in week number 3, but the Valkyries off to a solid start. And looking at their roster, you can hardly be surprised. Star-studded is that roster. You've got Aquarius on there. You've got Sam for Soccer. But as good as this Valhalla Valkyries roster is, you have to take a look at the Sages, and you have to respect the talent there as well, because that is also an incredibly potent roster. SCC All-Stars over multiple seasons. You've got Snatty, Jingaru, Ranjaru. I'm expecting this to be a really good show, regardless of how stacked you might think the Valkyries are. They've got some work cut out for them, and they have shown that they can falter in the past.
Well, no matter how stacked your roster may be, it all depends on how you pull it off when it all comes together. And that starts with picks and bans as we head on over for this first matchup. Now, of course, we've had a couple of changes lately, not effective in this game. So crit's still on the minds of both these two teams, and I expect that to be reflected in the picks and bans.
For sure. The changes haven't come through just yet, so all these hunters are still probably going to be going for that crit build.
Yep.
If they're not, then it's probably because the other team has just drafted way too much frontline and they all have spectral armors as their second item, and you suddenly don't think that crit is a very good idea anymore. But just getting into things, you're still probably prioritizing the Kernanos, probably looking for the Ishtars.
Yes.
Maybe some Jingwei. We've seen that coming up and around. He does very well with the crit build, even if it's not the best early aggression in the world.
Yep.
Lots of viability in the God pool right now. Standard bans coming through. I don't think anyone's too surprised. But I'm curious if we'll see a Vamana ban come out here, because the Guan Yu is gone. Valks may be looking for that as a first pick.
Yeah, lots on the table because Vamana, like you mentioned, Hell, notably still available, and that's the Habwa taken off the table. So lots for the Valks to consider, and lots for the Sages to pick up when you aren't playing with the straps afterwards. It's actually Martikaras being focused out. So Martikaras does plenty, Spooky, but does it warrant a top pick at the moment?
It depends on where you're planning on putting him, all right? Everyone's kind of gotten on this train by now, I think. Martikaras feels just a little bit better in the mid lane. He feels a bit better as a caster rather than your traditional hunter. Give him some pen, give him some damage rather than the full-on crit build. He's looking pretty good there. He has good safety, not just in the patches of grass he puts down, but also in the fact that he can just self-banish and just rain damage down on whoever's trying to dive him. That's what you're looking for on that, but I love this response from the Sages as well. This is a lot of duo lane pressure. If you don't think you can out pressure Martikaras in the mid lane, get yourself an advantage somewhere else.
Ishtar, Yamoja, of course, possibly the best level 1 clear in the game. And they don't even really need that because you hit level 2, and then it gets even better for the two of them. So not surprising to see the Valks immediately pull up their full dual lane pickups coming through. Literally picking from the tippy top of the tier list tree right now are both teams, with Terra Kernanos coming on in. Terra Kernanos, not quite the same early pressure, but as far as at least it goes on the tier list, would you expect this dual lane of the Valks to stand up?
Friends, to me, I have a plan.
Most definitely. As long as you get out of those first 3 levels without really taking any spills, you're looking pretty good. Terra excels very strong in the late game. If you just allow her to flourish and build up over time, you're going to have a great late game ahead of you. The problem is, like you said, that early game. The first couple levels, Ishtar and Yamoja are simply going to outpressure you. They have more damage. They can push that wave under your tower very effectively. And then they can start looking around the jungle. They start looking for those invades, that shield buff. Key having Sam for soccer not allow the Sages to get too much in the early game. Have him rotate around, put him in something that can rotate early. I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if we see a Vamana jungle come out actually is banned away, so not gonna
I would be
that.
surprised.
It would be very shocking. Things like the Susano are still available. We know Sam loves that pick. Wouldn't be surprised to see him go that way at all.
Yeah, Susano, of course. You think Bakasura still on the table. Thanatos, not seen too much play, but one of those guns that does just excel at running the map, farming up everywhere. And notably, talking about junglers, neither side opting to pick up their junglers too early on. The priority goes elsewhere, and of course, gives you that room to be flexible and actually counterpick the enemy team with your jungler. And Daji does that pretty well into this Valkstride.
I like this Daji pick a lot. It's not going to find a whole lot of value on Martigris, you know. Just go up to the air, CC immunity, that's great. That's not where you're looking right now. Your strong point is your duo lane. You've got massive amounts of pressure there. And oh, well, wouldn't you know it? Their duo lane on the Valks doesn't have any CC immunity to get out of the Powwow. If you can find a way to force those beads out, you're looking very good. I know, I don't think you like this Scylla pick very much, do you, Judas?
So I did actually get to cast the Valks last week. Sam for Soccer picked up Scylla jungle. Looking at the lineup, unless it's Bologna jungle, and I think it's a Scylla jungle again. Now, Scylla jungle did all right, but I feel like there was much more of a frontline presence for the Valkyries. If it is a Scylla jungle, even if it's a Scylla mid, I'm not really sure they have the setup needed to make this god work.
Listen, the Valkyries are a team that like to get a little bit silly every now and then. They like to kind of have fun in their first game. In fact, I think the reason we've seen 3-game sets from them is because maybe they're having a little bit too much fun at times in their first game. But we'll have to see how it works out. I do think it lacks the early pressure that you're looking for to kind of counteract what the Sages have drafted for their duo lane. But if you're allowed to scale on the side of the Valks, man, you couldn't have picked a much better team comp for it.
Well, I think we finally found out the full name of Sam for Soccer. It's Sam for Soccer, Too Much Fun. We'll have to see if it's too much fun or just the right amount of fun as we head on into game number 1 of this matchup between the Valhalla Valkyries and the Athenian Sages. It is indeed Scylla in the jungle for Sam for Soccer. Now, if you are Jengaru on the Daji for the Athenian Sages, what are you doing to this Scylla? Are you looking to smash them early on?
Oh, you're looking for as many invades as you can find. You're looking primarily to play around your left side of the map. That's where, as we've said, you have the most pressure. Allow Privative and Renjaru to push that lane up, keep the Valkyries under their tower, and just start looking at the buffs on this left side. Go find yourself a speed buff. Go find yourself a purple buff if you can. Maybe look for the green buff if you find the time to rotate all the way over to the mid lane. There is a lot that the Sages can take away from that left side of the map. Question is, how do the Valkyries respond to it? I don't think they have a great shot of contesting those early invades on the left side. So what I'd really like to see Sam Soccer do is I'd like to see Sam go over towards that right side a little bit. Understand that you're likely giving up a lot of that left side jungle. Get some wards down. Make sure you actually know that the Sages are over there so you're not blindly walking into the right side of the jungle. But try to just balance the map out. Split it up because you've got Aquarius on this Bologna. Yeah, he's getting snatty on the Horus, but you should be able to find some kind of pressure and some kind of invade opportunities because snatty on this Horus is going to be very reliant on the blue buff. If you can strip that away from him, he's not going to be able to contest you nearly as well.
Yeah, so a lot of pressure on Aquarius actually is the god that maybe scales the earliest for this Valkyries lineup. And we actually saw in the dual lane that the Sages pressed so hard for that first wave, the Valkyries didn't even step up to it. They had to just immediately retreat under the tower. But for the rest of the map, that's not so much the case. You know, the Valkyries pushed up early, like you said, in the solo lane. Snatty under a bit of pressure from Aquarius. The mid lane, Sam for Soccer and Erupt Crimson, really churning out the damage. And Gamma feels confident enough to step forward. Gets on in. Does a decent amount of poke damage onto Renjaru. And this Ishtar, of course, you know, not opting for the Griffin Wing build, does have the sustain in the kit. Should feel safe enough to keep on rolling.
Yeah, that's kind of what happens when you decide to dash at the enemy tower, at tower line, at level 2. You're going to see some dashes used aggressively on you because Renjaru knows that he's safe enough where he is, that he can go ahead and use that mobility.
Here we go.
This just puts a little bit of damage out onto Gamma, trying to force them back. Jingaru, in the meantime, a little bit active in this jungle, maybe looking for an early rotation to this right side, or may just be looking for a little secure on this buff here. Try to get Snatty ahead. And Sages right now, I think they're playing it very well for what they've drafted. They know they have a better early game. I am a little bit surprised by how much damage has gone into Renjaru over here on the left side. Even so, he's paired up with Privet and the Emoja. Not going to be too much of a concern to stay sustained there.
Woo.
Oh boy.
Oh, engage from Jingaru, but that is a root from Sanfosaka. Will just about be enough. Aquarius, of course, had teleported back to lane, but wasn't present before, and actually will get in again with Jingaru. Sanfosaka absolutely can't step up to this blue buff. Snatty's on the way, as is Aquarius. So Sanfosaka with the superior secure of that crush misses, though. 83 health on the buff, and it will go the way of the Valkyries. An important secure there from Sanfosaka.
Very well played from both ends there. Sam actually popped his shard there to get the cooldowns ticking down a little bit faster. Jingaru knew it was going to happen. He went in simply to bait out the crush from Sam. Once Sam used the crush on Jingaru, he knew, okay, there's no secure here. Let's fall back to the blue buff, look for the invade there. Didn't account for the relic going off. Actually, kind of did. He did drop the aggro from the blue buff, allowed it to go back towards Sam to stay out of the crush damage. But unfortunately for him, Sikkim still does a good bit of damage as well.
Yes.
Snatty ultimately does not end up stealing that blue buff away. Aquarius still feeling pretty good on this right side for now. That's a lot of time spent on that invade as well. Jingaru wasn't getting his own farm during that time. Sam, while he's not a level up, he has built up a slight XP lead. He was level 4 to Jingaru's 3 at the time. Expect to see that trend either continue if Jingaru keeps looking for these invades without success. May have to just go back to his jungle, settle for those, and try to make sure he's just staying relevant until level 5 here, where his opportunities open up a lot more with the powwow.
Well, level 5s mostly across the board, just the dual lane of the Athenian Sages. Not quite clicking over yet, and that will be the cue, I think, for this game to really burst into life. You know, Jingaru, of course, with that powwow will be effective. Nehu, nice flicker, just over at that Sikkim coming out from Sanfosaka. Now, Sanfosaka, of course, with that IMO monster, it's not exactly the best ganking ultimate, because it doesn't do a whole lot until you fire it off. With these little bushes being propped up by Crimson, there's an opportunity for some real sneaky Scylla action.
Yeah, he's placed the bushes across the entire width of the lane there. This allows Sam to pretty much rotate in, and you're not going to be sure where he's at. You know he's in that strip there somewhere, but exactly where is the question. Keep an eye on this left side as well. You can see Jingaru is wanting to find some opportunities there. And it's kind of telling you how these two teams are looking to play. Crimson trying to enable his jungler to set up in this mid lane, looking for some opportunities to punish Nehu on this Merlin very early on, while Jingaru trying to facilitate his dual lane just a little bit, which, frankly, I'm surprised that this dual lane has been as quiet as it has been so far. Really haven't seen a lot of aggression coming through. On the right side, though, you see an invade.
Wow. It just seems so easy. Yeah, like you said, for whatever reason, Jingaru decides to help out the dual lane, and that just left the blue buff exposed. Of Snatty and stripped away very quickly by Sanfosaka and Aquarius, and Jingaru sitting around the jungle hunting for a pick, but not getting it yet. And this Daji maybe not getting quite as active as we would have hoped for in the early game. And yeah, it's been relatively quiet across the board, but in a quiet game, Spooky, you mentioned the Valhalla Valkyries more than happy to scale, and well, the Athenian Sages apparently more than happy to let them do it.
Yeah, and they are doing a very good job of it right now. Sam continues this trend of just being a little bit ahead of Jingaru. Tick to level 7 before Jingaru. Jingaru, that is, only just now reached his 7th level here. So he's just getting a little bit more farm than this Daji, which is shocking to me because the Sages should absolutely be looking to punish this kind... It's not a bad pick, but it's an unorthodox pick on the Scylla jungle, right? It's not something you expect to see. it's not doing bad so far. So, in fact, it's winning right now. Maybe not necessarily in the game state, but in map pressure, Sam has found more invades. He's putting decent damage down into the enemy laners, at least Snatty when he tries to step up to the blue buff there. He's just having a little bit more of an impact, and now he has Doom Orb online. Got a little bit more movement speed, has the pen online as well. Sam is going to start hurting very quickly if the Sages aren't careful, and if they want to make the most of this situation, they should be looking to get aggressive on the Valkyrie side while they still can, before Sam hits level 9, before he hits level 10, while they don't have to contend with, you know, maxed out Scylla abilities.
Right. And of course, that Doom Orb online, this is of course pre-nerf Doom Orb, still has an absolute ton of power on it, so will definitely be a dangerous target. Now, will Samprasaka Jengaru doesn't want to get caught. Pinged out by Aquarius as they wander on through the jungle. Some supportal combat on the left-hand side, but Wowie, not too interested in watching, actually wants to take part. It's all over this purple buff. The mid lane is nearby. If we get any spiciness come out, it will be a secured purple buff for the Valks. And nothing else doing on the map for the Sages. The Valks with all the pressure right now.
That was so well played from Gamma, Judas. Did you see the way he held his CC until Primitive had used a Riptide to push himself away? Get back to that in a moment. Aquarius taking some damage here.
Taking some very real damage. The parallel is still available. Snatty dives under tower. It's tanking it. There is the parallel. Gets the hook. But there is the jump away. Jengaru swipes. Oh! Takes some damage. It's so close. Neutral kill. Oh, both Aquarius and Jengaru there. It's Jengaru who comes out on top with the first blood, though.
Slight win there for the Athenian Sages. Jengaru gets the first blood, does leave Snatty without a lane opponent for a little bit, so he's able to proxy that wave, take a little bit more XP and gold. But what is this response from the Valkyries? Jengaru has gone down, so it's straight to the Gold Fury for the Valks.
Image here. There's the River's Rebuke, and across the sky comes this Horus, who is included. It's just Snatty. Maybe nearby as well, but damage already. There's the other monster. Does connect. Ton of damage, but still alive is Snatty. Jengaru dashing forward and finishing off Erupt Crimson. Valks try to make a play on the Gold Fury, and the Sages punish them.
Another win for the Sages on that one. They do take down Erupt as a mid laner dead for no cost to the Sages. Stop a Gold Fury pull. I liked the idea from the Valkyries. It was a very good one. If they've been slightly faster on the pickup, I think it goes a little bit better there. Unfortunately for them, they didn't have quite the shred they needed pre-10 minutes here just yet. So Jengaru ends up picking up a kill for himself. Should make things a little bit easier in this lane, but even despite these couple wins going the way of the Sages, take a look at the gold. Not really significant in anyone's favor right now. Take a look at the XP. It's still the Valkyries leading in most of these lanes. The big point for the Sages is in that mid lane. Nehu being 2 levels up after Erupt goes down there allows him a little bit further ahead. And that's one thing you don't really want to see as a Merlin who's starting to scale very well. Yes, your Scylla does have unmatchable burst from the jungle. But Nehu has insane amounts of shred. You pair it up with Jengaru, there's tons of AoE damage on the side of the Sages right now. Valkyries have to be very careful about how much they're letting Nehu do.
Samprasaka does get the blue buff invade off, but Snatty, interested in this target, will jump on in. That is the I'm a Monster. Forced out, and Samprasaka took so much damage so quickly from Snatty. I suppose Scylla almost you'd expect that, but man, that was very much quite surprising.
Yeah, he took some damage, but you know what else he took? The blue buff. Snatty not gonna have one of those for a little bit. Ultimate for ultimate, ultimately a win for the Valkyries on that one. Sam not looking to fight, he's just looking to strip away as many of these camps as possible. Snatty's gonna be doing some good damage right now. He's got the Golden Blade, he's got the Warrior's Axe. You can see that's about where the damage stops for his build. He's going into this breastplate next, likely to start shifting into pretty much purely defensive items from this point on. Expect to see perhaps the Spectral come out, but Wowie actually Picking up an Executioner. May not be looking for full crit.
Ooh.
Woofed up.
That was plenty of damage. Not enough damage, though, onto Privative, who does have 15 stacks on this prophetic cloak. Now, yeah, Jangaru's nearby.
Yeah, well,
Interested, has been spotted out. And will have to retreat on away. No play available just there. Oh, peeking around the corner, Jangaru's in a tough spot. Does get caught by the Sikkim Crush. Has to use the Powwow for it, but will now retreat on away, poking and prodding. But the Valk's going to make a look at this Pyromancer.
Yeah, not sure why Jangaru decided to I do know why he decided to stop. It's because every ability missed, and when every ability misses you, you stop, you look, and you laugh at the guys who missed you. Unfortunately, that leaves him in position to be rotated on by Sam, who only has to land 2 abilities to take out half of Jangaru's life bar. Quick course of the ultimate means no longer can Jangaru stay around these objectives. Ultimates very freely used on the side of the Sages right now. Valkyries pick up 1 objective, and you can almost feel the pressure on the Sages as they're now trying to make a play around this Gold Fury.
Oh, Aquarius with the teleport from behind the Sages. Have no idea.
Oh, the disarm.
Can't get in time. Looks like there wasn't a full commit from the Sages. Aquarius with a fantastic teleport in there. But I wonder if the Valks want to make a look at this Gold Fury themselves, but the retreat's pretty good from the Sages. Not too much, but Aquarius would have been dangerous if they came in, Spooky, because interesting, spicy new item picked up by this Bellona, the Vital Amplifier. First item after Death's Toll for Aquarius. It's a spicy one. It does mean this Bellona is going to be hitting pretty hard.
Yeah, attack speed, power, everything you want there. Even some mana sustained there for this Bellona, and the passive really makes it good on this Bellona. Healing yourself gives you stacks of attack speed and basic attack damage for 6 seconds, up to 3 times. Massive amounts there. Hold up.
Oh my goodness! Gamma again. Ooh. We actually saw this last week out of Gamma. Absolutely clowning on people with those terror walls. And I mean, Gamma appears to be in the same form this time. Bringing again has made the space for this Gold Fury. Now, can the Sages react? They don't have anyone nearby. And that will be that, because Jangaru farming up over in the right-hand lane. Bit of a swap from Snatty and Jangaru. This Daji maybe just struggling to farm a little bit.
I'm not sure what's happening with Jangaru. Like, this is a very aggressive pick on the Daji.
Yeah.
Jangaru should have no problems stepping forward into the Valkyries jungle, especially when you have Snatty on the right side to help you do that. Apply pressure wherever you want. If you need assistance, to the skies. Here I am. I'm here to help. Ooh. If you don't want to go to the right side, who cares? You've got Yamoja Ishtar on the left. And clearly Privative has a bit of tankiness to him, and you see how long he survives up there, just throws up the River's Rebuke. Gamma finally walking away from that one. But as this game goes on, these opportunities, these windows, they start to close a little bit, Judas. You touched on the Vital Amplifier. Aquarius is no longer an easy guy to fight because of the sustain, the damage, the attack speed that he now has. Remember, once the Scourge comes out, every 3rd basic attack, that is healing Aquarius, which means every 3rd basic attack, he's getting more basic attack damage, getting more attack speed to throw these attacks out faster. Where do you go now? Every time you delay an action, you lose out on opportunities. The roads that they can take get closed down. And once we reach late game, once we reach the 25, 30-minute mark, they're pretty much on a single one-way lane, and there's not a lot that they can do once Sam reaches full power, once Wowie reaches full build, once the Rep Crimson is blasting away half their health bars on the Martigris from the skies, completely untouchable. Sages need to start looking to get active in this mid-game before their roads completely close.
Well, they do tend to say, never waste a moment, because every moment can be a comedic moment. Now, this isn't a comedy. In fact, it's not going particularly happily for the Sages, because they've just been under pressure across the map, of course, leading in kills, but ever so slightly down in gold. Now, it is extremely finely balanced. In fact, experience is probably where the Valks find their biggest lead, but even then, It will be very tight across the board. Everyone's just so tentative. The surprising lack of combat for this NA game. I'm feeling a little bit ripped off right now, but luckily I didn't have to purchase a ticket to get here. Now the Pyromancer is available, and hopefully this will spark a bit of a keg going forward.
And Valkyries in position, pulling the objective, but disengaging off of it. They know the Sages are here in force. They haven't reached their biggest power spikes just yet. The Valkyries are content to just let this one play slow and scale up. And we've talked about that multiple times, Judas. The Valkyries know exactly what kind of team they've drafted. They know exactly what kind of game they're playing, and it's the long game. If we reach a 35-minute game, the Valkyries are comfortable. They can take cover to the fact that any fight they take at that moment, Sam has one-shot potential, right? He will just simply delete anyone who's not on point with their actives. And once you reach that point, it's very easy to bait those Aegises out simply because of how much damage a single crush can do from Sam. And that's not the only person you're looking at, right? Take a look at these Hunters. Wow, he's going for his crit build. He's got the Demon Blade online. Ranjaru is going for a more tank shred build. He's got the Chinsai, he's got the Executioner. Not quite as much burst just yet, and now has to burn the bees.
Oh, that could have been some burst as the Aegis coming through, but the Iron Monster doesn't quite connect. But look at Sam for Sokka's health. It's gone because Jangaru's on the scene. Gets a chain, does poke Wowie, but that will be the beads from the current Rose. Primitive learns that lesson. He'll step on the way, but Aquarius on the scene. What a fantastic rebuke. Counted out by the Phantom Shell. Now Snanny also on the rotation over, but might be isolated. This is all turning into a purple buff invade. Gold Fury very nearby, and that's an important Oni Fury. That's clearly the big fish.
I'm surprised Ranjaru lived as long as he did. Valkyries baited those relics out perfectly. Now they're looking for a fight as well. Oni very low.
The Valhalla Valkyries will take it. Aquarius just doing too much zoning for the Sages to handle, and they can't re-engage afterwards, can the Chaos side? They're just going to walk on away very healthy, very happy, very satisfied with the small win they got there on that left-hand side.
Very disciplined play coming out from the Valkyries right now. I like all the V's to match up with the VV name there, Valhalla Valkyries. But Pyromancer also being looked at by the Sages, getting burned down incredibly fast. Maybe a fight after though, Judas.
Yeah, the Sages do have it. They do drop the bomb, but Sanford and Erupt Crimson will drop Snaddy, and the Sages can't pick up that runic bomb because it's under house arrest from the rest of the Valkyries on that side. Now, Fire Giant.
Fire?
Map. Aquarius wants it. Aquarius is really communicating this to their team.
I like this.
Will be a pull. Now, the Sages absolutely aware of this. Primitive will get the runic bomb. That could be a potential steal here. So you have to contend with. There's a nice stun coming through. Does drop the runic bomb. Does Primitive, and that will be a Sage's Fire Giant. Now afterwards, Primitive being dove on, but Jangaru will pull away their team. But Primitive will fall in the process. The retreat is good, and they will also get a tier 2 on the left-hand side. The Sages answer back massively, as does Jangaru. What does the fight look like? It's a bleed death for Sanford Soccer, but Gamma be able to clean it up. Jangaru on the retreat, Crimson on the wraparound. This is just a case of finding that last little bit of dying farm. Or can Jangaru make something? This will blink over the wall. Trying to back Gamma, though, on the chase, is fully aware of this. Will again slam the rocks on Jangaru, but Jangaru will take this fight. Wow, he also wants the fight, and finally, Jangaru goes down, but that's a lot of time. The Sages have had to reset and begin their siege with this Fire Giant.
You know, Judas, there are times when you absolutely want to praise both teams, and there are times that they just make you go, now what are you doing right now? Incredibly disciplined play coming out from the Valkyries until the Fire Giant. It was the right call, don't get me wrong. I love the Fire Giant decision there. What I don't love is the Valkyries deciding, well, you know, Primitive's here. Yeah, he picked up the Runic Bomb, but we're just going to let him walk in towards the Fire Giant, not use our incredible secure on it.
Yep.
And we'll just 50-50 this. Well, 50-50 doesn't go your way on that one. Primitive steals it away, ends up falling in the long run. But the fact that Jangaru can also return a kill onto Sam, and then just spend the rest of the time running around the jungle of the Valkyries, allowing Ranjaru to push down 2 towers on the left side. Man, that is such a heavy goal swing for the Sages. And while it doesn't look like it on the board there, you have to remember that before this, the Valkyries had taken away the Oni Fury. They had been taking away the Pyromancers, and now they give 2 objectives up in a row that did not need to be given up. That Fire Giant should have been theirs. Valkyries have to tighten things up a little bit there. They cannot allow that to happen again. Luckily for them, 3 do fall. Fire Giant only remains on 2 targets. But it is the backliners that you have to worry about now. Nehu and Ranjaru have the Fire Giant buff. They have a little bit more damage, a little bit more sustain. Careful in your jungle here, Crimson.
Has to be very careful because there are many members around of the Sages, and somewhat luckily for the Valkyries, not necessarily just luck, of course, because they did plan this out somewhat. They didn't plan on losing the Fire Giant, but they did only end up losing it to 2 people because they managed to take out Privative. They did eventually take down Jengaru. So only the 2 members with it means it's not possible really for the Sages to make a sustained push, right? That's why we've seen this slowdown of the game after that Fire Giant got taken. You know, no barreling as 5 because they didn't have 5. And even then, those 5 wouldn't have had Fire Giant. So it had to be slow, but it's a lifeline for the Sages, and they didn't desperately need it. They were by no means out of the game, but it was just trending the way of the Valk. So, you know, massive for them that they are able to take that Fire Giant for the Sages. But like I said, it was somewhat ill-disciplined from the Valks. And we saw this last week too. In the second game, they did mess around a little bit. You know, Sam for soccer, too much fun. Came back to the show again. But, you know, this time maybe we'll see them tighten up around this time because you don't want to be giving away a game for free.
No, the Valkyries are a good enough team that this shouldn't throw them for too much of a loop here. Now, it's not to discredit the Sages by any means, but you're looking at the Valkyries here, and this is a team that's been in some tough situations before. It's a team that knows how to fight back from behind. With the fact that only 2 Sages have that Fire Giant, not probably going to be taking down the remaining Tier 2s. Tier 1 and mid still standing, and even if the Sages put up a push towards it, Valkyries are in a position where they could pretty easily still put up a defense. Now, is it worth it to do that for a Tier 1? Probably not. For a Tier 2? Absolutely. They're not feeling any pressure there. The longer this game goes, the more comfortable Valkyries are going to feel. Fire Giant now fallen off of the Sages. Right? Because that's all you're getting from the Fire Giant. Doesn't feel the best. Fury is in their books.
Get the Fury as well. They managed to take everything they wanted. Now, Pyromancer on the map, and of course we saw how valuable the Runic Bomb can be. Well, the Athenian Sages will contend in this objective. You laugh at me, Spooky, but
I'm not laughing at you, Judas. I'm laughing at the situation that means you are absolutely right. No one should be stealing Fire Giant with Runic Bomb, especially if you're just the Yamoja support. Like, in what world are we in? That's the situation that occurs. Privative just walks up and with the lowest amount of damage, just takes away the Fire Giant. Now, I say the lowest amount. Runic Bomb does do a fair bit of damage, don't get me wrong. But it's so telegraphed. It's such a telegraphed thing that you're looking to do. Luckily for Valkyries, shouldn't be a repeat performance here. Now they have a Runic Bomb on their side, on top of the Wild Hunt, on top of the Crush, on top of I'm a Monster. If they lose a Fire Giant with F6. This lineup, honestly, yeah, man, like, I'm probably tilted out of my mind at that point. Like, we're just going next. Give us a restart.
Yeah, that's the point in the speed run where you reset the game. Just, you know what? It's not happening today. I'm going to try it again. But try it again, shall the Valks, as they get themselves in position. Now, the Sages are here, of course. They don't let this one go, but they don't seem too eager to step into the fight. I don't believe we've seen a fight initiated by the Sages. In fact, it has been the Valks pulling all the first stops. And you can see by the positioning, the Valks are the ones who want to start this fight.
Yeah, Sages playing very cautiously. They know what they're up against. They know how much damage can come through here from Sam, especially. Jingaru has to use the Powwow. Sages forced to back off as a result. Sam's just going to take a quick trip back to the base, reset here. And now, this Fire Giant looks very fine for the Valkyries. Sages taking a little bit longer to reset here. Advanced positioning in favor of the Valkyries. Sages, they still look for a way in here, but they don't have a clean window, Judas. They don't have an opportunity to catch someone out. This front line is too strong, and the Valkyries know that they're holding all the cards right now.
Crimson is just churning out damage over the walls with this acid rain. Look at that root, but what a Riptide coming in, combined with the vortex. But Primitive takes too much damage in the process. Gets out the rivers, but will not be able to get anything else on the table. Valkyries get their pick and now turn their attention to the fire.
Absolutely the right play here. Without the Rebuke to split things up, Sage is going to have a much harder time getting into this. Fire Giant burning. Sages want it.
They get it! They get it! The Sages! I think that was an Ishtar basic. Please reveal Maestro in the top left. Yes! Storm shot coming out from Renjaru. The Valks can't secure in a 4v5 situation. They had the Runic Bomb. They held it. They had the Crush I'm a Monster. They held it. Well, they might not be holding it, but it's the Athenian Sages who take it away.
I don't have any words, Judas. I mean, you have every secure tool in the book, and you're letting it go to Storm Shot from Renjaru?
207 days.
All the way back there. All the way back there. Yeah, thank you, production. Thank you. 800 base damage.
Don't show
plus
that.
120% of your magical power. Storm Shot's not out damaging it. I'll tell you that right now. If you use the I'm a Monster, Renjaru is not out securing you unless you horribly mistime it. And you know what? Maybe that's what they were concerned about. Maybe they thought, oh, I'll mistime it, so I'm going to wait for the fight. I don't believe Sam for Soccer would make that kind of mistake. I don't know, Judas. I legitimately don't have a way to spin this one. I mean, it's just sloppy on the side of the Valkyries, and the Sages are capitalizing 100%. They are playing out of their minds, just capitalizing on every mistake that the Valkyries make and creating their own opportunities. This map should now belong to the Sages. These tier 2s might as well not exist. It's still not the biggest gold lead in the world. It's 3,000, 3,500. But you add the Fire Giant onto that, your push is incredibly good from the Sages.
Oh, the loop around from Snaddy and Jengaru does not catch anyone out of position. There's the best Fire Giant secure on the map, apparently, from Renjaru. Firing off some damage into this tier 2 tower.
I can't believe you wasted it on both.
Yeah, I should have held it like San Francisco's doing, right? You know, you never know when you might need it. But this tier 2 siege being slowly done by the Sages. Quickly puts all this grass down. Quickly takes a ton of damage. Can't quite catch up.
Oh!
The damage though from Nehu. Fantastic Rivers Review catches
Jingaru.
That will be a Phantom Shell. That was a really nice wild hunt there. And in goes Aquarius. Up and down into the sky. And there's Jingaru with the Powwow though. Fight's not going so well for the Fountains. Gamma will get plucked to their doom. Now the tier 2 will go the way of the Sages, and they might look for some more.
Absolutely incredible play from the Sages. Jingaru positioned perfectly, just hiding behind that wall the entire time, waiting for the Valkyries to step just a bit too far forward. Instantly onto Wowie. Now with a 5v3 advantage. Ooh, this Phoenix is not looking very good. It's not looking very healthy. Sages think it looks mighty tasty.
And they're gonna devour it in a matter of seconds. Just have too much damage. All the Valks to contend with. We will now turn their attention to the mid lane. As to the Sages, though, look at the vortex coming out and deleted. Is Sanford Soccer combining with Jengaru's staggered deaths on the Valks? I mean, the Sages could go again if they want to. They opt instead to head back for this enhanced Fire Giant. Maybe show the Valks how it's done.
All right, guys, listen. You've gotten the objective stolen both times. You got to show them that you can do it too at this point. If the Valkyries can step forward and steal the EFG away, they're golden. I'll understand the play was just to play an Uno reverse card this entire time. It's all an elaborate bait. If that doesn't happen, well, Valkyries have some answering to do in the next draft phase, and frankly, before that. Any coach is watching, probably not too pleased to see the EFG now being taken by the Sages. Valkyries in the area, and they get it, though. Interesting. Sages maybe not feeling too confident just yet, understanding how much steal potential is on the side of the Valkyries, looking for the runic bomb that served them so faithfully in the past, get a little bit more secure for themselves, and make this look a little bit easier for them on the secure.
Well, now it might well come down to runic bomb versus runic bomb from Gamma.
I hope not.
Snaddy. I don't know how we get to that point, but if we're going to get to that point, it might well be this game. Now, the Sages know they can take their time. It's in the left-hand lane. They do have those fire minions pouring down. That does mean that Crimson has to rotate back and forth. Aquarius pushes out the mid lane. With that grass providing some stealth, the Sages can't take this fire because they don't know if there's a Scylla I'm the monster waiting.
I mean, at this point, I think they can comfortably say there isn't. Just based on previous fire giants. And
that's a good point.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Judas. I'm pretty sure Valkyries have taken a single pyro this game. They're still holding on to that runic bomb. It hasn't been placed anywhere. Aquarius is up there.
Aquarius up, down in the middle of 5. Still has a ton of health to work with, though. Sanfasaka comes from behind. Doesn't connect with the damage they need, though. Now that is the pick the Sages were looking for.
Oh, no!
And they feign a back. They feign a retreat, but Sneddy goes in. I thought they might have the whole team in that ultimate, but don't have it. The Titan. The Valhalla Valkyries taking some damage. They ought to stick around as the Sages looking again at this fire.
You can feel the frustration in that ultimate from Crimson there. Knocked back by the Riptide, tries to go around the grass, knocked back again, says, ah, man, I'm just going into the skies for this one. Now, no ultimate available. Fire Giant half.
Oh, Fire Giant half. Gamma is also half. Nice wild hunt onto Nehu and Snaddy. That was trying to zone, but taking a lot of damage. Fire Giant's very low. There's the Iron Monster finally. The Sage is up to hold it, but hold it they cannot. As the bounce this time swoop in with that I'm a Monster. The EFG goes the way of the Valhalla Valkyries this time.
There you have it. Judas, it was all an elaborate plan to lure the Sages into a false sense of security so they'd be a little bit lax when they went for the EFG. And it worked out for the Valkyries. They're able to step up. I'm a Monster finally comes through on the objective. And wouldn't you know it, the Valkyries are the ones who end up with the objective after that. Maybe a little bit lax on the side of the Sages. Potentially could have put a little bit more zoning towards Sam. He pretty much got to step up for free. Everyone was looking to that right side of the pit. Their eyes were on Wowie. Their eyes were on Crimson. And they just didn't recognize the Scylla coming in. And, you know, on one hand, I mean, hasn't really secured any objectives all game, so maybe it's not at the forefront of your mind. On the other hand, you gotta expect it. You just have to expect that it's coming at this point. It's not a lost game for the Sages by any means. They're still about 5,000 gold up. They still have a low left-hand Phoenix on the side of the Valkyries there. You just have to wait out this EFG. And you notice the Valkyries aren't being too aggressive with it just yet, because the Sages did secure themselves an Oni Fury, put a little bit more pressure on the map, and make sure the Valkyries have to spend a little bit more time defending that left side Phoenix. So look at the grouping. Sages look to strip some away from the Valkyries.
And they dive in for the tier 2 and they do secure it. Now, when you look at a Phoenix as well, it looks like they are, but no, the backs come through, and that will be enough. It does stall the push of the Valks. But Spooky, you were somewhat tongue-in-cheek, at least I think you were, when talking about the Grand Master plan coming out from Sanfasaka to eventually secure that enhanced Fire Giant. But looking at the build coming out from Sanfasaka, has the Seer of the Jungle as well. Seer of the Jungle with Scylla. It's like astronomical levels of overkill for secure. on these buffs, because 35% increased damage to jungle monsters. That I'm a monster's hitting for like 3k on the fire giant. I don't know, maybe it was part of the plan all along.
It's a lot of damage, to be sure. Add on to that, it's 100 magical power as well. You're getting a lot of value out of this Seer of the Jungle. You know, it still could have been a little bit more effective early on, but as they say, you know, let bygones be bygones, no harm, no foul. And while there was quite a bit of harm done to the base of the Valkyries, they were able to pull it back. They're still very much in this game. Now, this EFG has pretty much just been put towards stabilizing themselves and preparing for the next EFG. That's where things are really going to be more interesting. Valkyries need to be a lot more careful on this one, though. They got by from a steal from Sam for Soccer, and by all means, they shouldn't have had it. Aquarius was way too deep by himself, surrounded by 5, up, down, no way out. Gets punished for that. Crimson gets his ultimate forced out by a single Riptide. Probably should have been punished a little bit harder for that. But Sages played it carefully. They're playing it slow. They know where they stand in this game. Valkyries have to be a little bit more cautious as well. They cannot be that far forward on their own. If they play more around this fire giant, they're in a good position. They have very good team fights here. As long as you keep an eye on where Nehu is, where Jingaru is, the Valkyries should be able to pick off their targets. But if Jingaru can leap around, find another flank and a good Powwow, Valkyries are in for a little bit of concern here. Sages stepping forward. You can see the poke starting.
Oh, Fire Giant has been pulled, Spooky. I've grabbed a coin from my wallet. I'm going to flip it quickly, just like these two teams are doing. It's tails, which means this one's going to the Sages. Let's see if the coin flip gods are correct. Now, charging in are both teams. They're clashing heads outside the pit, but with not a whole lot of commitment. But Crimson gets caught. Has to use that
disguise.
Fly onto the sky, but
Snatty.
coming down from the sky is Snatty as well. Now Crimson takes a ton of damage, but heals up so much more. But the damage is so good from Nehu. It shuts down all of the aggression from the Valks, forced away. The Order team, and now the Sages. Coin flip might have called it. Take position around the Fire Giant.
Sam is still alive. He could look to do it again. I'm a Monster is not available, but the Crush sure is, and that does a lot of damage itself. The Sages are wise to it. They're playing this a little bit carefully, not starting up right away. They want to know exactly where Sam is before they start it. Now they've got the vision on it. Here's the pull. What is the response?
Going in, the Fire Giant's very low. Soccer gets the Crush off, and the Vans do take it again! Finally connecting with this secure is this Scylla. Now can the Sages chase them down? The retreat's pretty good, but will it be good enough? It will not, as the Valks make their way back home safe, and finally, again, have all the position with this enhanced Fire Giant. My coin flip was wrong, Spooky, but the coin flip landed perfectly for the Valkyries.
Well, I would really say it's your own fault for calling the clashing heads at that point, right? Because it was a tails, and then you said they're clashing heads. So you flipped the coin back over in favor of the Valkyries.
I did do that.
So really, you really did the Sages dirty on that one. Still, hats off to the Valkyries. Finally starting to play around these objectives. Maybe not the cleanest, but they're certainly getting the objectives where they need to. Crimson, a little bit too far forward once again, gets caught out. Maybe a little bit reliant on the death from above there. A little bit liberal on the use. He seems to be positioned very aggressively, thinking, okay, I'm just going to go into the skies, put a lot of damage down, and I'll be fine. Unfortunately, Snatty does a very good job of chasing him down. Aquarius wasn't able to find the up-down on top of Snatty upon landing, so the CC didn't come through where they needed it to. All in all, though, Crimson is still leading in damage, and that's why he's such a target for the Sages right now. The Sages have been doing everything they can to take Crimson out of these fights. And it's starting to backfire a little bit. It's starting to not work because they're putting so many resources into taking down this mid laner. Don't have anything left to stop the siege.
The siege comes in. The River's Rebuke shall trap Gamma, but it will not be too much damage onto this Terra. Able to sustain on up. Now in the middle lane, half HP on this Phoenix already. Spooky, I'm trying to focus. You can stop giggling, but
yellow numbers go key.
It's a lot of yellow numbers on the target, but not a lot. Phoenix. Now a ton of damage onto Crimson. So fantastic. Blades coming through, and Crimson shall fall as well. Now the mid lane Phoenix will go down in favor of the Falcon. Aquarius 1-on-2, swinging it out, juking it out. Might even come out on top. And wow! Take down Jingaru, but that will be Bologna off the map. Another target off the map for the Sages. Only losing one Phoenix, and it's the mid lane Phoenix. At this point in the game, you've got to be happy with that.
I don't know if they can be too happy with it. They've traded 3 for 1. Yeah, they got themselves a bird. These are some long respawn timers here, Judas. 30 seconds out are both Crimson and Gamma. Only 2 defenders. It's going to be at least a mid-bird for a mid-bird here. If Valkyries aren't careful, it could be a little bit more than that as well. Sages walking in.
Saka does still pose a significant threat. That will be a nice combo into Rinjaru to take the Ishtar down to half HP, and it will be mid lane Phoenix who's traded out for either side. Right, Fire Giant's on its way back in about 30 seconds. Let me get my coin flip going. All right, heads or tails?
Are you gonna jinx it again?
What's your prediction?
Tails, Valkyries.
Tails, Valkyries. It is Tails, so that might mean Valkyries. Let's see again how this prediction goes. Now the Runic Bomb.
I'm hedging my bets. They've got the most secure, and if they don't do it, I'm just disappointed.
Well, they do have the most secure, but there is a Runic Bomb on the side of the Sages, Spooky, and we've seen how devastating that can be. Now it is this time in the hands of Rinjaru. Maybe not the best target for that. Might struggle to step on up, but this Fire Giant bursting through the walls. Fight's about to begin.
Sages, not the healthiest right now. Nehu, about 3/4 HP. The Valkyries are already on this.
Fire Giant's very low. Senpasaka is there with the crush. As the Armor Monster as well. Used early, and the Sages take it, and they take down Senpasaka. Now Jingaru in the back line, retreating to their own front line. Who are diving onto a Rough Crimson, who's in a very, very difficult position. As about Tickers, the storm shots from Rinjaru will burn down the King of Monsters, and the Sages this time get Fire Giant.
Judas, I'm not even sure why Crimson is up there. Listen, you're the mid laner. You're supposed to be on the Fire Giant, burning it down. Instead, he's up with Aquarius trying to frontline against the Athenian Sages.
They're going in.
Now, all 5 have the EFG. This is a tough defense for the Valks.
It is just 3 members for 25 seconds, but that 1 member coming back in is the all-important part. Senpasaka make that 2 against 5, as Aquarius now trying to put out all of their damage, but it will not be enough. It is just Gamma, the support, retreating away. 3 people to kill the Titan, guys! The Titan, turn around! Attention, please!
No survivors!
Keep mind on what's coming through. Senpasaka in 5 seconds, but 5 seconds is too long for the Valhalla Valkyries, the Athenian Sages. It looks easy if you look at the scores afterwards, 17 kills to 7, but that does not tell the whole story. It was a story of coin flips, of which the Valhalla Valkyries won 2, but lost 3, and it ends up with an Athenian Sages victory. Have fun breaking that one down, Spooky, because that was just a bit of chaos from both sides.
Yeah, the breakdown I'd like to do is simply breaking something over my knee after watching that. The Valkyries had no business losing 3 Fire Giants. The one at the end, in particular, was super egregious because you could see how early it was. You saw the crush down on the ground. It was going to detonate before it was in kill potential. Okay, go up into I'm a Monster. Haven't detonated the crush yet. It's not enough burn coming through. The Sages are pushing in, and as soon as you saw it start to come down, that was all the Sages really needed. Storm Shot once again just takes it on down. Man, they were definitely a storm of shots. Rinjaru was simply on a tear in this game. 6-1, shredding through tanks, shredding through squishies, simply deleted Crimson. And frankly, both backliners on the stages had some really standout moments. Nehu pretty much half-healthing people over walls on this Merlin. Yeah. I said all game the Valkyries had an incredible late game. Well, Sages ended up using theirs just a little bit better in the long run. Played those objectives cleaner, played the fights afterwards a little bit better, played those pushes much cleaner. In the end, that's what wins them the game.
Yeah, it was a lot of damage, of course, like you said, from Nehu being dished out over those walls from strange angles into particularly key fights. And going deathless on the Merlin in a 44-minute game, it really can't happen. But with the composition that the Valhalla Valkyries had drafted, it's got a bit of dive, right? In particularly Aquarius, really can heavily dive on this Bologna and was finding a lot of success, even being within a lot of enemy team. But when you're not able to get this Merlin, who, like I said, has just been dishing out so much damage, it's never really going to win. If a mage gets away free casting, that mage is always going to come out on top.
Yeah, the biggest problem is that there's a bit of dive on the Valkyries, but where is the follow-up for the dive, right? Aquarius goes on in. What's Sam going to do? Sentinel in? No. Is he going to try to crush 4 people? He's going to try. Unfortunately, it missed. Yeah. So he doesn't really get the value out of that. So you're left looking over at Gamma. Okay, do we have Terra go in? Do we have him dive alongside Aquarius? Well, now your backline is exposed. Are these 3 going to be able to peel for each other? Unfortunately, Wowie only has 16k damage by the end of this game. So the answer there is no. They were not able to peel for each other. Go back to the drawing board. Maybe take a more traditional jungle pick. Something that facilitates that dive just a little bit better, works with your solo lane more effectively. And that's where the Valkyries need to start to find success in those fights.
Well, will it be a more particular jungle, or will it be something extra spicy to make up for this game one loss? We'll have to see what happens. We will head to a quick break, but when we come back, we'll be bringing you game number 2.
Something that don't feel right. You know life is better when we just talk. When
All right. Well, we discussed pre-game one, Spooky, that the Valhalla Valkyries have been known to be having a bit too much fun in their first games, but instead it was the Athenian sages who come away smiling from that first game. Fire Giant steals across the board, not a single Fire Giant secured by the team who actually wanted to begin the Fire Giant. We saw that towards the start of this season, but at this level in the SCC, we really shouldn't be seeing those mistakes coming through.
Yeah, I'm glad the sages are smiling, because I know I sure am not after watching that one. I think you pretty much just nailed it there, Judas. We just shouldn't be seeing those kinds of mistakes coming through. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the Valkyries were having too much fun or maybe not enough fun. Because personally for me, having 3 Fire Giants stolen out from under my nose isn't very fun. But this is not the end for the Valkyries. There's still plenty of SMITE left for them to play. Potentially 2 more games if they can clean things up here in game number 2. And we talked a little bit about what that might look like, right? More traditional jungler. Fingers crossed. Maybe a little bit more help for Aquarius there. Again, I'm looking towards the Susano. I'm looking towards the Thanatos. Anything that we've seen Sam really excel on that also does a good job of diving into the backline alongside his solo laner. Will we see it?
Let's find out if we see it. We shall head to Picks and Bans, where it will be evidently clear immediately that the Valhalla Valkyries will decide to top pick their jungler, right? He's going to top pick an Aokong, and it's going to be set, and everyone's going to be happy. Even the set, set's pretty good too. But funny enough, Spooky, last weekend, we actually saw Sam Fasaka bring out the Scylla jungle, as I mentioned previously, and it did win that game. Actually got banned out game 2, I think. Possibly. I'm not certain on that. But it did well.
I don't think it's getting banned here.
I don't think it's getting banned here. If anything, if you're the Sage, you might ask them to pick it again. But Sam followed that up last week with an Agni jungle. Now, is Agni maybe the more...
No.
Let me finish my question. I have a question. Let me finish it. Is Agni a more typical jungler for you?
My answer remains unchanged, Judas. No, it is not. In fact, if he locks in an Agni jungle, there is a non-zero chance I simply take the headset off and walk away, and you're solo casting that one for speaking it into existence. Yeah. If you follow up the Scylla jungle performance with an Agni jungle pick, I have a lot of words, and I can't say any of them on air, Judas. So we'll go with that one. Well, looking at the bans, it is open for him if he chooses to do it. I like this start. No. This better be on Aquarius. You know what? I won't even be mad if it is on Sam. If it's on Sam, it's still a good diver. It's still someone who can get active, get into that back line. If Sam wants a spicy little fun pick, this is not the worst one that you could be looking for. Tigris does follow it up. Good safety, good counter to the Hercules. Not in the fact that he stops Hercules from doing what he wants to do, but simply because he can get away from the Hercules. Has some anti-heal to mitigate some of Hercules' sustain. The root is always good too. Lots of tools available right now.
Yeah, right.
Done with
That's what you said. Well, look. Clearly, the Hercules healing is a concern for the Sages. They've drafted the Barticus, like you said, built in anti-heal into the kit, and drafted the Surcat.
Truly alone,
likely for the jungle, not necessarily for the jungle, but, has one of the few abilities in the game that now provides 100% anti-heal. So, if this Hercules does begin getting out of control, they have some measures in place. But speaking of control, Nox coming out for the Valks. Now, most likely this is a Nox support, and we've seen some success in that god lately. Do you feel like it's a strong god in the meta, especially when Terra was available?
By death.
No, I wouldn't hate seeing it in the support role. The problem I'm having right now is I have this heart-wrenching feeling that I'm going to see Sam piloting it in the jungle, and I just don't like that nearly as much. Now, Could just be completely wrong. Could be off base with that.
Oh,
Hopefully I'm
jungle.
off base with that. Kern jungle is okay. I'm more okay with that one than the Nox. At least his passive works a little bit better. Gets some AoE, gets some more damage in there when you're in melee range. Kernanos is one of the hunters, is the hunter that was like sort of half designed with jungle in mind as a role.
Yo, jungle base?
Never really fit in there super well, but I won't get mad at Sam for trying it out. Back to the Nox. I would like to see it in the support role. I think it does pretty well into the Sages comp so far. Drop it down on Martigris. Okay, well, what are you going to do? You going to drop a patch of grass? No, you're not. You're silenced. You going to try to fight back? No, you're silenced. Shuts down the Circuit extremely well. No more mobility available to her once she's in that silence. Can't ult out. Can't do a single thing. It's a very strong counter pick here. I don't like Geb into it. Why? Pairing Geb with the Izanami. Izanami has some of the best hunter clear in the game.
Jungler?
Geb is very low pressure, low clear. Good work.
Spooky, don't get excited. I'm again going to flashback to last week where it was a Loki mid for Erupt Crimson. It's an Agni hover. I think that's production. It's not production. That's an Agni jungle, dude. Look, what I was going to call out is the Sages banned Hunbat's Naja. Why not just pass two bans, dude? Sam's not playing Hunbat's or Naja right now. This is an Agni in the jungle. It might even be a Hercules in the jungle. We throw Loki in the solo. Might do some crazy stuff. But what do the Sages pick? You know what? I don't care. Spooky, who's going jungle for the Valks?
No one I'm happy about. I'll tell you that right now. It's no one that I'm happy about. You know, put that on hold, right? Yeah. Sam played the Agni before. He did win with it. He did win with it. Credit must be paid where it's due. Now, I don't know if he'll win with it this time. He's been a little bit off the mark with his secure, and now he's going to be running into a Vahman who does simply just run at the back line. CC immune, can't silence that, can't stun that. He's off the mark with his I'm a monsters. Maybe he'll have better luck with 3 bombs.
Yeah, right? Like, there's 3 of them, you know? You might miss 1, you might even miss 2. Surely you don't miss 3, right? We'll have to see exactly how that goes as we get on in to this second game. Now, the Valhalla Valkyries, of course, find themselves 1 game down in this best of 3. It would be their first loss of the season if they were to do it. It is Sam Fasaka piloting the Agni in the jungle with Erupt Crimson on the Loki mid. I don't know what's wrong. What's wrong, Spooky? They drafted basically.
Why did you do this
week.
to me?
You should have known. Why didn't you study? You should have.
You spoke it into existence.
No, I did.
If you hadn't said it all, then the Valkyries would have been like, you know what, guys? Let's bamboozle them. I know we did this last week, so let's switch it up this week. Whoa. Agni mid. It'll be funny. But then you came in and you said, boy howdy, it's Spooky. A Loki mid. It's an Agni in the jungle. It's your fault.
Spooky Crimson's doing the jungle start, and Sam's doing the mid laner start. It's not a real swap. There's an eye of the jungle. On the
Sam, they're just giving the speed buff to Crimson, so he can try to be a little bit more active in this early game. It's a Loki.
Yeah,
why did he take
Sam also has a speed buff.
Because now they're splitting the XP 2 ways, right? Crimson gets solo XP on that, and Sam gets a normal start.
But that's where the mid laner starts. Sam's done a mid laner start.
Well, we've seen this a few times. We've seen some teams go ahead and put their mid laner over to the speed buff, have them do that one, while the jungler kind of does the more traditional start. Now, usually we do see them swap buffs as well. We've seen the junglers take the red buff to kind of have a bigger impact in the early, hit things a little bit harder when they make those rotations.
Right.
Not going to be the case here. Sam does stick with the speed buff, because that's more valuable to the mage than the red buff in this game, for reasons I refuse to elaborate on.
I mean, normally, traditionally, standardly, this is by any means not that. As both Sam Fasaka and Erupt Crimson with their speed buffs in hand shall clear on into their way. Mayhu looks to pull it on out. Gets Crimson while they're invisible. See Jengaru and Sir Cat hang over to this side camp. You know, everything's normal. Everything is very standard, and you know, everyone's just going for it. Everyone's just doing their thing, brawling over the gold buff, and that one goes the way of Renjaru.
Completely normal. Definitely. My very definition of a normal Smite game that I load into on the regular.
Is this? It does look like a casual. Like, let's be honest.
You know,
I feel like I've played this comp. I played this comp today.
I actually believe you on that one. I checked your match history earlier. I actually do that to you guys on the regular every day before a cast. I do check my co-caster's match history to see if I actually want to be on air with you or not. And it was a good enough performance this week that I decided I'd go ahead and go for it. Yeah, you passed. Hey, look, Crimson has his red buff finally, which means he could go ahead and actually clear the lane now. That first time with the speed buff got pushed in very, very easily. Should be able to clear a little bit more effectively now. It has some damage to actually match Nehu on this Matigris. Hopefully that means some rotations are in the near future for Crimson on this Loki, because I refuse to accept a world where Loki mid isn't rotating on the regular. Aquarius fighting over a blue buff.
Well, Sam Fasaka, we see this last game as well. Snatty now, rolling it out. Sam has the superior secure, but it's only level 5, of course. Now Aquarius and Snatty just duking it out here. Battling, but a double driving strike. There's a Path of Flames. Jengaru leaping over the wall. Gets the beads from Sam Fasaka. Only Aquarius has an ultimate here, so to speak on her. Snatty is within range of that driving strike to the wall. Where is the first kill as Jengaru falls down to Aquarius. Aquarius held the boulder. The rotation comes on in. Death from above from Nehu. Can they find the shots? Yes, they can. Erupt Crimson now looping around behind Fasaka. Level 5. Can they close the distance? We'll try to do it. Jengaru off the respawn. The Crimson will have to retreat away.
Oh, wow.
Crimson's rooted out. Might be some danger. Blinking in. Jengaru gets some good damage to the assassinate. Jengaru still not level 5, so can't secure the kill. 1 for 1 across the board.
What an incredibly long fight for a 1 for 1, Judas.
So normal. What a normal game right now.
We start at the Valkyries blue buff, and we end at the Sage's red buff for that one. Excellent rotation coming out from Nehu there to capitalize. Aquarius clearly feeling pretty good on this Hercules right now. Really have to respect the damage that this pick can put out very early on. Displacement, CC, incredibly potent kit, especially in the hands of Aquarius, who's been around the block a few times with this particular god. It's no strange sight to see him piling this Hercules. Sam Fasaka, not the best start, I would say. Had the beads forced out. Wasn't able to confirm the kill onto Jengaru there. It eventually did fall to Aquarius, but a little bit longer, I think, than they really wanted it to be there. If they were able to secure it a little bit faster, Aquarius probably doesn't fall to the rotation from Artigris. I think this is just the state of our game here, Judas. It's just
everyone's just doing stuff.
Exchanges across the board. If you see someone, hit someone. That seems to be the motto right now, the creed, if you will.
You know, like they say on golf courses, if you see a divot, like you replace your own and then +1 for good luck. Like right now, it's if you see your lane opponent, hit them and hit someone else for good luck as well. You just one is not enough right now. So both teams duking it out, as we have seen, particularly the soloing dealing right now. Snatty goes big. Oh my god, the damage is phenomenal. With Gamma with the damage reduction. Not enough as Jengaru there to sweep up the kill. And Gamma might be in some trouble. The last breath taking on through. Raining fire is Sam Fasaka. Big sun coming on out. Snatty has to try to chase down Gamma. Will give it up in exchange, though, for a blue buff, and that's a pick onto Aquarius. That was much needed for the Sages.
I will say, that is one thing that this Agni pick does bring very effectively. The CC there coming out from Sam was impeccable. Pretty much the reason the Gamma gets out with his life there is simply because Sam is on point with the stuns, making sure that Jingaru and Snetty cannot chase any further. Find these AoE stuns with this AoE silence from Gamma. It's actually pretty hard for the Sages to make their way towards anyone in the backline of the Valkyries. Until Snatty's ultimate comes back up, and then we see that damage come through once again. Sam, though, maybe looking to make a move before that happens.
Well, trying to engage is Zenfasaka. There's the Path of Flames onto Snatty. The stun comes out, which will make room for the clear the path. Dodges out rain fire, but not the second. Can they get the third? Zenfasaka does not, and Snatty gets away with their life. Not quite enough damage, but enough that you are happy to make that play and happy to send this Vamana back to base.
A little disappointed that Sam didn't wait on his stun a little bit longer. If he had waited until Snatty had gone into the dash, could have just stunned him out of that one, probably secured the kill there. At the end of the day, though, it is still a TKO. They force Snatty out of the lane. He has to make the long walk back. He's going to lose some farm as a result of that. That's really what you want to see in that lane right now. Get Aquarius ahead where you can, because he is having an impact in that lane. Snatty, he's not liking these fights very much at all. He has to have the ultimate available if he wants to make these trades. And all you have to do is get Aquarius to the point where he can rotate out and say, nah, Snatty, I don't want to deal with your ultimate because I don't have to. Get Aquarius to this mid lane, get him active around these objectives. You're feeling pretty good if you're Valkyries right now. Uh-oh.
Here we go again onto Aquarius. That's damage from Jingaru. There is the last breath. Just needs to detonate those ticks. Oh, nice driving strike through both, but it's still not enough. Snatty takes down Aquarius, and the play on the right from the Sages means there should be a play on the left from the Valks. The purple buff invade. Lock onto Primitive, and here comes the damage coming through. There's the Wild Hunt. This Gab with nowhere to go gets sliced down by the Glaives of Wowie. I wonder if they're going to look at this Gold Fury as well as the scrap comes out in the jungle. Corrupt Crimson takes some shots, but safe enough. Doesn't have to use the Assassinate. That's a Colossal Fury now off the board for the Sages. It's Aquarius. He's back on the scene.
Assassinate comes in. Snatty in a bad spot and cut down by the backstabs from Corrupt Crimson. What you're looking for on the map. However, Sages do still make out with those back camps from the Valkyries. If you take a look down there at the scoreboard a little bit, you can see it's having an impact in the jungle. Sam only just now ticked over to level 9. Jingaru is sitting a fairly comfortable lead over this Agni jungle. All he really has to do is keep staying active on this right side of the map. Keep making those invades. Valkyries are starting to respond. It was a good response from Crimson Aquarius there to punish that aggression. But they have to keep doing that. They have to do it consistently. Make sure that Jingaru isn't allowed to just farm up both ends of that right side jungle. You have to make sure Sam has some camps for himself. Otherwise, Jingaru is going to start getting a little bit wild a little bit before the Valkyries really want him to.
Well, looking here at the support matchup, Gamma are piloting the Nox. Generally, we've heard Nox doesn't need to hit all of their CC. Snatty in some danger. It's been CC'd once. Gamma around the corner. This early Earth Shield shall keep them safe. Aquarius gets the knockup onto Snatty. Driving straight towards the lock permitted onto this Vamana, who goes into the Colossal Fury. Double Cataclysm, though, from Primitive. Now there's the Death Robot from Ney, who dodges the damage and puts out the damage. Aquarius caught again by Jingaru from the jungle. Nice hit again from the Sages. This Hercules is just struggling so far.
He is struggling right now, but only because of how much pressure the Sages are putting on him in every fight right now. Aquarius still feels good in his one-on-one against Snatty. He still feels good pulling people out of position. He's getting to a point, he's pretty tanky right now. It took a lot in order to put Aquarius down into the grave there. And we're talking 3 ultimates. 4, actually, because Primitive also dropped the Cataclysm on top of him as well. If he can keep pulling that kind of attention, I don't care if he dies 14 more times. There will be a point where dropping all of those ultimates, I will care a little bit. But the Valkyries won't. Because there will be a point where dropping those resources into Aquarius is simply not giving you enough return on investment. The more ults you put into the tank, the less you have for the squishies. And I grant you, Wowie hasn't been able to make an impact just yet. We're still early on in this game. Crimson struggling, and might struggle in the late game to have a significant impact diving into the Sages. But if Aquarius is pulling all the damage, then what do the Sages have left to put into Crimson when he does go in? It's a puzzle that is starting to put the pieces together. They just have to get there before it's too late.
Well, the Sages, looking to make it too late a bit earlier than previously, have got the worst nightmare of the Valhalla Valkyries. That is a runic bomb in the pocket of Snatty. The dreaded runic bomb. The kryptonite, if you will, of the Valhalla Valkyries. But the kryptonite for Gamma right now is Privative on this Geb pick, actually. Nox, particularly adept at blocking out one target. Earthshield, particularly good at saving one target. And Gamma right now, I don't want to use the term useless, because that's harsh and Nox does provide a bit else, but if you can't even CC anyone, what are you contributing as a support?
You're still contributing area denial if you're Gamma on this Nox right now. It does kind of suck that they counterpicked the Geb into the Nox. Don't get me wrong. You're not going to find much use out of the Shadow Lock combo, but you are still going to be able to just drop the giant silence and say, hey, you guys don't get to walk through this anymore. You don't get to play in this particular zone. Find another route. In addition to that, you can lock Privative down as well. If he oversteps, if he gets a little too ambitious, you can drop the silence route onto Geb. And as he is silenced, he cannot use the Earthen Shield. He's not able to simply cleanse himself out of that one. So there's still a little bit that the Valkyries can do. Now, granted, as the game goes on, focusing the tank down becomes less and less viable. We were just talking about that with Aquarius. But early on, Privative is only level 10 as opposed to Aquarius' 13. Yes, he has the Spirit Rope available. He's got mitigations, which is an absolutely incredible pickup, given what we're talking about. That actually shuts down a lot of that plan right there. So never mind. Valkyries are pretty much relying on the area denial.
Privative unstoppable by virtue of that Spirit Rope, of course. Snatty and Aquarius, both stoppable, but both very prominent figures on this right-hand side of the map. But the left-hand side seems to be where a lot of the attention is right now. There's pressure being applied to Wowie. The response coming out from the rest of the Valkyries. Now that's 2 Tier 1 towers down in favor of the Sages, which is explaining this 2.5-ish lead they've built up in gold, and playing it somewhat slowly because these objectives, we've seen them not be easy to secure right now, means that if you can't take a clean one, the Sage is just not opting to take one at all.
I think the Sages are playing a little bit too cautiously. Now, grant you, there is a lot of CC on the side of the Valkyries, right? There is a lot to pull out that Earthen Shield and try to bait it. You're looking at the Agni Bombs in particular. You're looking at Crimson with the Assassinate as well, on top of Nox on the Gamma on the Nox, as we've talked about.
Yes.
But if you look at what the Sages have, it's not just the Earthen Shield. It's also Nehu, CC immune, just goes up in the sky, can't even damage him. Snatty, CC immune, refreshing shield, very hard to damage him. Jingaru has stealth, can simply sit around these corners and wait for someone to get too ambitious. Sages right now, they're playing intelligently. They know they don't have a massive lead, so they can't be overconfident. But they have the tools available to them where they can put the pressure on the Valkyries. They can take the step forward and challenge them. And as hovered here, the fail not just finished by Nehu as well. This is even bigger. Everyone is going to be looking for those crits on the side of the Sages. Even, yes, Privative on the Geb.
Privative on the Geb may well be responsible for this slew of sentry wards on this left-hand side of the Assassinate immediately onto Renjaru, forces that Shadow Sneak away. Now, Gold Fury started up half HP already. Snatty in the backside. That's good damage reduction out from Gamma. The damage is good in response. to Snatty. Gold Fury still shooting through the health bars of these tanks. Now Nehu from the mid lane, draining fire onto Wowie, just about surviving, but Sam Fasaka is not. Now Jengar gets a contorted runic bomb, goes down as well, just for some extra aggression, fantastic silence onto the boulder, hits everyone else, killing spree for Jengaru, and a Gold Fury.
What, Judas, that's exactly what I'm talking about right there. Snatty walks in and says, you know what? Yeah, I'm kind of by myself here. Jengaru's up there. But I'm Vommin. My team is on the way. Let's just see how long I can hold on to the Colossal Fury. And the answer is long enough. Excellent flank from the Sages, and they find the priority targets. If you saw, Snatty spent that entire time just beating Wowie's face with his little umbrella and saying, hey, you want to leave yet? You want to leave yet? You want to leave yet? Well, no. So Nehu goes into the sky, starts dropping damage, and okay, Wowie wants to leave now. At that point, it's a little bit too late. Now if you use your relics, you've taken so much damage, not just on Wowie, but as a team. I think Valkyries really made the worst mistake they could. On the retreat, they backed into possibly the smallest corridor they could find themselves in.
Yep.
And they just said, oh, well, I guess that's just where we want you. The Sages completely decimated them there. Yes, Aquarius was able to find some value with that boulder toss. At that point, it was far too late in the fight. He didn't really find a lot of value. No one falls on the Sages at all. It's just a free objective for the Sages, now pushing their lead a little bit further up towards the 6,000 mark. This is where things start to get a little bit more dicey. Oh, that is a turn
man. Look at the damage, and Snatty's there on the counter rotation in. This dude does spot them out. Pinging! The pings go down from Snatty, but a blink over the wall from Erupt Crimson. Now Gamma might find themselves in a tough spot again. Chased that choke point on the left. Snatty going in. Catch Crimson though. Crimson will retreat on out, and the Valhalla Valkyries just find themselves really on the ropes right now. If they're not careful, this could be a short game.
I mean, listen, I love Sam. I love watching Sam play. I don't love Sam on the Agni right now. He's 3 levels down on Jengaru. He's not able to really make an impact in these fights. He has to stay very safe, and he simply cannot right now. The dive is too good, and now he's running for his life from Snatty all the way down the lane. The only Aquarius on his way to help.
Oh, going into the Colossal Fury there. Maybe thought there was an opportunity. Or maybe Snatty just needed some help clearing those final lane minions. That was better. It shoved Snatty into danger, but to clear the path shall be enough to keep this Varmana safe. And that's just the way it is right now. Valkyries, by virtue of... No, it's not just Sam's fault, right? Don't get that wrong. No. It's not purely this Agni pick that is costing them here, but finding themselves so behind right now because they can't take a good fight. There really hasn't been a window for them so far.
The biggest problem right now is that Aquarius was their strongest point in the early to mid game.
Yes.
The Sages very effectively recognized that and said, well, what if we just don't let him play the game? And then we start grouping up to take out other members of the Valkyries, right? They've snowballed off of Aquarius to the point they can do the same thing, just swarm around Gamma, make their way over to a Pyromancer, which doesn't get stolen by the decoy. Thank you. Does not get stolen by the decoy. And the Sages have simply shut down the Valkyries' best method for getting into these fights. Even in Game 1, it was Aquarius leading the dives onto the Sages' backline.
Yes.
He cannot do that at a 1-5 slash line. He's 2 levels down on Snatty. He doesn't have nearly enough procs, nearly enough sustain, because the Sages have also drafted to anti-heal this Hercules. He's not going to be healthy getting into the backline. And that means the Sages can just run at the rest of the Valkyries backline and dive into Nehu, I guess, because why not?
What? It's got to be someone, right? But speaking of got to be someone, surely someone on the Valhalla Valkyries is looking at sovereignty right now. It's a full physical stack on the side of the Sages, but they're certainly not very tanky into it. Now the Sages will pick up the Oni Fury for cheap. to get anything else after the fact. Garu's still running down Gamma. Do they have the cooldown? They've got the taunt on in. Gamma stays alive with his barest amount of HP. What a stun from Samfasaka, but now they have alerted the team to their presence. Blinking away, Samfasaka blinking in chase is Jangaru. Now Aquarius, we're pushing on the right-hand side. It is just the one pick. Samfasaka's given up this retreat and will give themselves up to Jangaru. A rampage for the Circuit, and the Sages running riot.
Sam honestly did probably the best thing he could do there. He tries to find a way out. He knows that he's actually not getting there. So what does he do? He takes out the minion wave from the Sages, make sure that they aren't able to step up and just tear down this tier 2 tower. Effectively stops the aggression on that left side. Could he have gotten out? Probably not. Once Snatty had made the rotation and cut off Gamma and killed him, there's really nowhere for Sam to go. But the downside is that the best play that Sam had is still not a great play. It now leads to a Fire Giant going the way of the Sages. Completely free.
Yeah, it does go the way of the Sages. Steal attempt coming through from Aquarius. Long range excavate. Not quite enough. Too long range. Too big of a lead now for the Athenian Sages. The Valkyries just can't fight into this right now. They have to wait for a Phoenix push or something, but double ADC coming out, and those ADCs in particular, Izanami and Manticore, is very good at burning down these Phoenixes. The Valhalla Valkyries need to make a stand somewhere. It has to be under one of these Phoenixes.
It's definitely their Phoenix line. They can't fight anywhere else. If you're taking a fight as the Valkyries outside your Phoenix line, you're asking to be run over, you're asking to lose your
just like
Phoenix
this?
at this point. No, they don't step up. They don't step all the way up. They're just doing a little bit of poke. They're just giving the Sages a little idea that, hey, we're still here. They're not going to commit to anything except maybe Snatty on this side, because he is completely alone.
Snatty fully alone. Fully aware that they are alone. Now Aquarius gives chase first. Gamma goes chasing high. Crimson gets the very high angle. It's a nice silence. We'll get the pull onto Snatty. Around the backside. There is a ticking clock coming through. Now there is the Colossal Fury. And that will be that from the Valks. They will now retreat because they know reinforcements are on the way. Jangaru diving forward. Privative rolling on forward. Looks like we're going for a bit of a Phoenix siege in the middle lane. Nehu takes down this tier 2 tower.
Yeah, it's just a clean sweep from the Sages. Normally you don't go for these Phoenixes on your first Fire Giant, but they're 10k up right now. Wow. Still some damage, though, coming out from the Valks.
50% on 2 Phoenixes. You'd rather 100% on 1, and that's what the Sages do on this left-hand side. Now, Gamma low, but Gamma's still involved and wants to take part in the fight. 2 kills now in the middle lane for the Valkyries now. Gamma surely to fall, but that's Jangaru using the ultimate. It does go down to that last breath. Aquarius gets a pull onto Privative. They just need to take someone out. Down this gap, not getting enough damage. Wowie taking 2 attempts. The last breath poison still ticking about. Still spreading around. Aquarius dashing forward. It's 3-on-3 in the left-hand side. The middle lane goes all right for the Valkyries, but they still lose that all-important left Phoenix.
Not the worst outcome in the world. Honestly, impressive defense from the Valkyries at this deficit. Able to take a couple key members of the Sages off the board. Nehu and Renjaru both fall. That's the backline burn. At that point, you saw the Valkyries get a lot more confident, step forward knowing that the Sages didn't really have a whole lot of damage going for them right then. Unfortunately, they weren't able to actually find the kills they were looking for. They ended up losing Gamma. Not the best look, but not the worst. Primal Fury actually will go the way of the Valkyries as well, though. Sages overstepped just a little bit. Ended up getting caught out by Sam on this Agni. Took some stuns I don't think they were expecting. Weren't quite ready for the damage that Sam has after he's been so quiet throughout this game. Now they need to take a step back. They're still leading by almost 9,000. It's by no means the end of the line for the Sages. The Valkyries don't dig in deep. It could be the end of the line for them. Not an EFG just yet. Not looking to step up around this Fire Giant. You have to be ready to defend these Phoenixes.
So the call from Spooky Mars here is that the Valkyries should not contest. However, with the way that this game has gone, with the way that the set has gone so far, and that stealing objectives is just the flavor of the month, maybe the Valkyries feel confident enough to step on up. Now the Fire Giant has spawned. Quietly throwing out some damage to Nehu on the right, who is setting up a little bush forest to that right-hand side. Now Fireman is on the left-hand side, meaning that the Sages, as in Game 1, don't need to rush this situation. There is no Scylla for the Valkyries to have the omnipotent steal. But the Sages still feel confident enough to pull this objective while there are enemies nearby.
Oh, they should be feeling very confident. All they need is those fires to step up past that Phoenix line. They don't even need to pull just yet, but they are looking to get aggressive. Jangaru does force out the ultimate from Crimson. That's a big old down around this Fire Giant. That could have been a ton of damage, a ton of disruption. But instead, the Valkyries are just losing resources. And yes, health is a resource. Minions now on the Titan. This is the pull call.
Yeah, the Fire Giant now being targeted out. Good stun on the Snatty. Committing all 3 bombs onto this Vamana means that they will have to go with that Colossal Fury. Now the Fire Giant's low. Dashing in his camera to try to take it, but the Sages will secure their own objective. Snatty does good on. Huge triple stun comes out from Sanfasaka. The damage from Jangaru is really good too. Just about alive as a Circuit, but not for long. Shut down is Jangaru by Aquarius. The Sages get it, but at what cost? 1 stun over the wall, and Crimson chasing around behind. Seen this before. Marticarus completely in no man's land means Aquarius will give chase Sanfasaka at risk of falling down. The team reinforcements come through.
Good shield!
Claims damage. Good shield comes out. Renjaru will catch Erupt Crimson on the way forward, but Erupt Crimson fires right on back. Coming out. Nehu has to receive Aquarius. Has to give chase for the sake of their team. The left side, Phoenix, has respawned for the Valkyries. It all goes well for the Valkyries.
And Aquarius still just pushing the Sages away. This was exactly where they needed to dig in. I'm once again very impressed. The Valkyries do it again. Where they need to pull through, they have pulled through. I said they shouldn't be at the Fire Giant. Well, turns out that's exactly where they needed to be. If you're going to make a defense like that, if you're going to pull the Sages out of position, well, hey, you might as well go for it. Excellent work, bringing Snatty's health down to about half.
Yep.
Used all 3 bombs to do it. That's because the Valkyries were not looking to actually get the Fire Giant. They were looking to take the fight to the Sages, knowing that the Sages would have to burn their own resources securing that objective. Too many times we've seen the Fire Giant get stolen away by teams not going ahead and just using what they had.
Yeah.
Valkyries took that lesson, but applied it in a less than orthodox way. They just went ahead and said, okay, let them have the objective. We can win the fight after. And now they're still looking for a little bit more. They know they have momentum. They just have to keep it in their favor.
Runic Bomb has been dropped on the right-hand side. Privative wants to step on up and finally will have an opportunity to do so. On the left-hand side, there's a Gold Fury going the way of the Athenian Sages. Renjaru on the Season Army has been quite quiet, but look at the build coming through. No crit to speak of. Just a ton of shred and damage, and that might explain why the death counts for this front line of the Valhalla Valkyries is just so high.
Real quick, can we shout out Gamma for needing 1014 XP still to reach level 20, while everyone else needs 0. Actually, that's level 18 for Gamma.
Oh, man.
Unfortunately, he's still level 17 on this. But it's like you said, the front line is just doing good work right now. The dive from Sages is very strong. Around these lanes and these Phoenixes is where the Sages look a little bit better, rather than around the objectives where it's a little bit wider, it's an open pit, where the Valkyries can flank a little bit more and find more opportunities. The Sages are looking for a straight dive, a straight fight into these fights. They're still playing it cautiously. They didn't have a lot of time left on that Fire Giant due to just how long the Valkyries kept that fight going. Now we're looking at the EFG on this one, Judas. This is where things broke down for the Valkyries in game number 1, where they have to really clean things up here in game number 2. Aquarius takes a recall. He still has his teleport available. He'll be back in no time. The Sages may look to pull this while the Valkyries aren't around. At least get their vision down.
Well, the Sages in prime position and have an even better lead than they had previously. Now, the steal's not so great on the Valkyries, at least the steal potential. But this time, left side Phoenix is up and healthy for the Valks, means there is no ticking timer. And Fire Giant being pulled does drag the Valkyries a bit further forward, but Aquarius gets a chunk of damage from Nehu hiding in that bush. Left-hand side, this mid lane being pushed up by Snatty. It's all very tense and tentative around this very wide open Fire Giant.
And Jengaru as well. He's looking for a flank. How Jengaru's playing this, staying behind the mini wave the Snatty's bringing up, so they have no idea he's there. Wow, that is some burn on the Phoenix. It just goes down so quickly, but that is an ultimate from Snatty.
Fire Giant.
Where Sam is.
Oh, look at the response from the Valkyries, but it means that the Fire Giant is exposed. Now instead, the aggression goes on to Gamma, and death from above will be enough for Nehu to clean up that pick as Jengaru runs down Erupt Crimson, and Aquarius in a tough spot. The call for the Valks is to retreat to their base. They do not want to be caught outside. Wowie goes the other direction from their base, who will just be playing stall for the time being. Snatty wins this chase eventually, so time being ticked away from the Sages. This gives time for the Valkyries to respawn, but without Wowie, it will not be an easy fight after the fact. Running all the way away.
Wait, Franjaru?
Having no chance to get a catch here.
Just let him go, guys!
Are being taken so far away. Already under this tier 1 tower. Still chasing is Snatty. Does get the shot, so Wowie cannot die to the Phoenix. Taking the fight, Wowie. Wowie taking the fight right back. Knockup is good, and that will be enough. That was close for a moment. The Fire Giant finally being taken by the Sages. That puts Soccer in a wide angle, but so far away.
Wait.
Not sure they're going to be able to test it in time. Soccer needs to not make themselves known right now. They will surely be collapsed on. Eventually, the Sages get the enhanced fire.
I cannot believe they let Wowie take them on that chase. that was such a ridiculous chase from Snatty, and he had so many people joining him on that. Privative decided to roll on in, check it out. Now Wowie's moving a little bit too fast. I'm gonna leave this one. Ranjaru decides to check it out. Wowie's moving a little bit too fast. I'm gonna leave this one. Snatty believed, he never gave up. At the end of the day, at the end of the chase, the Sages do still end up with their Fire Giant, but Valkyries now have all but Wowie alive for the defense here. Bird not likely to survive without Wowie, but it's 3 seconds away.
Bomb.
And now its siege is on.
Runic Bomb comes in, but a big pull from Aquarius there. These are the beats come out from Majaris and Pasaka duking it out.
Wow!
Jengaru, and the damage is good from both. Now, left side Phoenix already gone down. This right side still under pressure. Primitive dragged into a dangerous spot, but Wowie in an even more precarious position. That's a wild hunt onto 2.
On the damage.
But Wire is the follow-up. Wowie swinging. Gamma's
Whoa!
Wowie dashes on in.
Wait, Snatty!
Juking out with Snatty on the backside with the help of the Titan, but Snatty is just going for it. Has to retreat because now here comes Aquarius. The defense again is good from the Valkyries. The Sages managed to keep Snatty alive, but again, you can't finish off the Valkyries. These guys just do not go down.
It's such an interesting play from the Sages there. Credit to the Valkyries for pulling that defense off. Aquarius was going massive with so much displacement in that fight. I feel like Snatty could have ended, though. He was on the Titan, but he was putting the damage into Crimson instead. He was trying to force this Loki away instead of just DPSing that Titan or helping on the right side with the Phoenix, which somehow still stands strong. A little less than half's not the strongest. Could be looking a lot worse for the Valkyries right now. Once again, they dig in deep and somehow found that there's still more in their pockets to pull out. It's like pocket sand. They just keep throwing it into the eyes of the Sages.
Whoa!
And they can't think.
Can't think, but they can kill, and they will kill off Erupt Crimson. The damage spreads onto Wowie. Hold on, Snaddy now in a ton of danger.
Wow.
It will be a low-key Horror Mana. Jingaru almost stunned out by Sampasaka, but not quite. Fire Giant is available soon. Valhalla Valkyries trade 1 for 1. All these trades are so close and so tense, but neither one ends up with a distinct advantage just yet. It's still a fantastic gold lead for the Sages, but with the items being the way they are, levels being level 20 across the board, it's not mattering so much. And if the Valhalla Valkyries can continue stalling, we might be going through a game 3, but it's all in the hands of the Sages right now.
Alright, you want to know the best way that the Sages can use their gold lead right now,
Bring
Judas?
it to me. Yes. How?
They need to use it to redo Renjaru's build. Get rid of the pen, get rid of the oboe, get some crit online. Well, you're going against 4 squishies, right? Okay, not 4. Gamma does build tank, I'll give you that, right? But it's Wowie on Kurnanos, it's Crimson on a Loki, and it's Sam on this Agony. Just get some crit, man, and you will delete these guys.
Yeah.
Right now, Valkyries are simply out DPSing because of the crit burst coming from Wowie on the defense. The Sages don't have enough damage to just stop them and put it back into the Valkyries.
Yes.
That's where the tables are really starting to turn on the Sages. Now, this may be the last fight, so it might be too late to redo that build. But the Sages have played well around these Fire Giants before. Keep an eye on Snaddy, and keep an eye on the Valkyries pushing forward.
Oh, engaging in, because in the middle lane is Snaddy over there. So chasing forward are the Valkyries, but that's a lot of damage onto Gamma. Now in some danger, retreating is Wowie and returning to bases. Right, Jingaru really low, manages to leap on away from danger. Now the Titan under threat, but Sampasaka has made the early retreat back. Gamma low health. Has to return to base. Primitive wants to roll on forward. Pyromancer being used as a healing tool from Wowie. Kurnanos is at least still alive, but the Titan is so low. Just from the damage coming out, the Sages start up the Fire Giant and will be safe to take it. It's tense again, but they have to break the base yet again. Mid lane Phoenix is wide open, left side Phoenix low health. Siege begins anew.
Very beautiful from the Sages. That was exactly what they needed. Every time this Fire Giant comes up, it's just Snaddy taking it down the mid lane, saying, okay,
textbook.
You guys just handle the 4-on-4, I will get us something for some kind of pressure. Pulls Sam Verstappen away from the fight. And I truly think Sam is one of the worst people they could send away from that fight. I think it needs to be Crimson. Because, yes, normally you send your jungler. But in this case, your jungler is your AoE long-range artillery mage who could be dropping bombs over walls, stopping the push from the Sages, and just bringing their health bars down. Instead, the Valkyries have to walk towards the Sages.
No
they have
way.
to be aggressive, and Jingaru may be getting caught out.
Jingaru gets caught, has to use the beads, and will be safe to do so. It's still this 5-man pack roam for the Valkyries, looking for an opportunity, but aren't going to get it. Now the left side Phoenix under threat from Snaddy. I don't think there's any world where the Valkyries are able to defend this. Sampasaka's here. Does have good wave clear and puts out decent damage too, but the right side Phoenix is where it's all at. Gamma steps forward, then Jaro wants to step forward. Everything's close, everything's tense, no one quite knows where the Pets put their feet. Where do I put my hands? What do I do in this situation? Pushing in on the left-hand side is Snaddy, goes big into the Colossal Fury and crushes that Phoenix down. So the Titan is ever weaker, but the fight starts in the right lane.
Gamma very low already, has to use the Night Terror, but can he get out? Yes, he can. Sages push forward.
Sages pushing forward to the sky goes one, but Aquarius in some danger with the 2 in the mid lane. But that is a massive wild hunt coming out. Primitive low, but Aquarius is down.
Whoa!
Soccer dishes out damage, but not enough to get anyone off the board. Now still sieging on this right-hand side are the rest of the Sages. Primitive solo health. There's somewhere in there, guys, I promise you. They're in those bushes, just waiting. Snaddy on the left-hand side, but still, King Sage is not confident to step all the way in.
Matt, what's up with the obsession with this right side Phoenix? You've got 2 bursts down, Titan is at half health, and this right burst has stopped every push, but Jaru finally breaks this open.
Oh, Snatty just dies. Fight Titan, though, not interested in the fighting. Wowie comes back to defend, but will not defend enough. The Colossal Fury to finish off this Titan here. Athenian Sages take down the Valhalla Valkyries, the favorite of this phase of the SEC. The Valks fall down to the Sages, as we mentioned, have some real SEC quality in their team, and it just shone through there. They were fantastic as a unit and played so well. I think they just very carefully but very systematically pulled the Valkyries apart.
Yeah, that right bird was a major obstacle for the Sages throughout this game. It was every defense the Valkyries had, it was on that right bird. Every time the Sages were thwarted, it was on that right bird.
Yeah.
Snatty eventually just says, yeah, you know what, guys? I don't really care about that bird. I'm just going to go hit the Titan now. And I'm very glad that's the decision, because that's exactly what I feel they needed to do. You have a dominant position at that point.
Yeah.
We know how that ended. How did it really get there? It really was just a story of the right side of the map, in all honesty, Judas. The Sages recognized Aquarius as a problem from game one. They recognized this Agni as having a little bit of a weaker early game. So what did they do? They played for the blue buffs. They played for those back camps and were just consistently ganging up on Aquarius, trying to put him behind and get Jengaru ahead. And at a 10-3-5 slash line, I would say it worked out pretty well.
Yeah. Went fantastically well, like you said, on that right-hand side. Started with a couple of kills onto Aquarius. I think Aquarius might have even picked up first blood onto Jengaru, if I remember correctly. It didn't look like it was working, but that was the game plan for the Sages. They had an idea, they ran with it, and it just went so well. And also, I think Gamma really struggled on the Nox pick. We mentioned how Privative with this Gab, just whenever Gamma wanted to lock someone down, just nope, shield, what else you got? What else can you do? And as much as they tried, Gamma, of course, tried to reduce the damage. The Night Terrors was really effective plenty of times, but just not enough when it really, really mattered. In particular, when Snatty decides to just dive onto the Titan, as they did twice. Second time went well for them. And really good play from the Sages. And the Valhalla Valkyries maybe can't take it quite so easy in the SEC this phase.
No, the Valkyries were having their fun. They were playing their game. Their game simply didn't pan out. If you're going to pick those things, you have to know that there are weaknesses in having those mages in the jungle, especially if they're not, things like Habwa that are traditionally very bursty and just instantly delete someone. Frankly, the Sages knew how to punish it. And if you're going against a team that knows how to punish your game style, well, that's where adaptability comes in. That's where you start having to change things up a little bit. And even if it's a little bit less fun, maybe go back to some of those more traditional routes. At the end of the day, though, it's like you said, we can't say it was all because of Sam. It was exceptional play from the Sages. They knew what their game plan was, and they knew how to approach this Valkyries team. I think as this whole season goes on, these teams will meet again, and I think we're going to see a lot more interesting matches coming out from these two.
Yeah, really close, really interesting from the get-go. Really, it felt like both teams were being very tactical in their mindset, and just happened this time worked out for the Sages. Maybe next time the Valkyries might bring something else to the table, but that is it from us today. It's been a fantastic showing. 2 O's across the day, I believe. It's been a very fast one, but that's just what happens when we have a good Smite being played. But I've been Judas Priestley, joined today by Spooky Mars. And of course, we've had Printers and Raptor today, writing production and spectating. I keep getting that one wrong. Respectively. Both of them providing a show for us that we really couldn't do without them. Okay. So do not go anywhere. Well, do go somewhere. Go to bed, guys. Go get your rest, because we are right on back tomorrow with more games, starting with the EU SCC in the morning and plenty of SPL, and then the NA SCC after that. But from all of us here today, we'll be signing off. Have a good night, everyone.